Hello everyone, this is Les Picker coming to you from our studio in historic Havre de Grace, Maryland. And today I want to do something very specific and right to the point, and that is, we do a lot of printing in our studio here in Havre de Grace, and but printing isn't just about the print coming out of the printer. It's about how you display the print also. And there are the typical display modalities like showing your print behind glass, maybe an open frame printing, which I've talked about before in my videos. But there's also a nice effect that you can do with your images called deckle edging, D-E-C-K-L-E. Deckle edging comes from the German printing presses years and years ago. But at any event, deckle edging gives kind of a neat look, appearance, and a bit of a different appearance to your mounted and onto the wall images. So here's an example of a deckle print. And as you can see, it adds a really nice effect to your printing. The edge is not cut straight like a typical print, but rather has this look of an old handmade paper. And that's kind of neat. We do that sometimes. So I want to show you how to do deckle edging today in a very simple and classic manner. And we're going to go through that step by step. So let me just first show you what you need to do deckle edges on your fine art prints. One thing is you may want to have a white glove on your left hand if you're right-handed, and reverse if you're left-handed. And that is because as you place the print on your cutting board, you're going to want to hold it, anchor it here, and to do that you don't want to touch your print. You want to have your gloved hand. You'll need a pencil. You may not need a pencil, but you should have one handy in case you want to demarcate where your borders are going to be. We always recommend a camel's hair brush. Make sure your print is clean. You don't, as you press your hand on it, you don't get some dirt etched into your print. When you're done with the deckle edging, you may want to have these wire brushes available to smooth the edges of the deckling. And that's really going to be up to you. You can decide after you've already made the cut whether you want to do the wire brushing or not. You're going to need a sharp knife. Now, we recommend here, and we have several of these in our shop, the Stanley Fat Max. It's an excellent knife. It allows you, it has a little wheel on the side to torque the blade down flush against the edge so there's no wavering in it. And it comes such that you can break off each piece after it gets a little dull. And always, by the way, whenever you're done making your cuts or picking this up to show someone, bring the blade back. I can't tell you how many accidents happen by people leaving the blade open. You'll probably want a tape measure, and very critical to this whole process is a straight edge. I personally recommend this no-slip grip, the Savage no-slip grip, and I'll have the name of it down in the description below. Because it has this rubberized backing that keeps it straight, flat on the surface. It also has a guard here so that it won't affect, you won't cut yourself if you slip with the knife. Really, it's a good thing to have. And they come in different sizes, 36 inches here. We also have a 72-inch that we use in our studio. So, with that as the background of what you need, and we're going to have a shot at the end here showing you everything laid out that you might need. What I'd like to do is go ahead and show you how we do the deckling. Now, you can buy on the open market in craft stores and in online through Amazon or Dick Blick or one of those stores. You can buy a deckling tool, they call it. It's basically a ruler with ragged edges so that you just put the ruler down and you rip it against that deckled ruler, and it creates a deckling pattern. In our studio, we don't particularly like that because the deckle is overemphasized. It looks kind of crass, in my opinion anyway, when you're done. People use that for fine art papers or for craft use, but for the fine art prints, we don't like taking away from the impact of the print itself. So we recommend that you do a little bit of more subtle deckling, as you saw at the beginning with the frame print that we demonstrated for you. So here's the basic idea of the deckling. You first decide on your margins, on your borders, that you want the deckling. So I have here just a scrap piece of paper that we use. This is a 300 GSM Moab paper that I'm just going to demonstrate this on. And what we do is you can, so I'm going to show you the details now and and explain it as I go through this process. All right, so here we go with the actual cutting. So what I did is I'm using a cutting mat that you can buy at any craft store, Michael's, or any of these craft shops that are available in your town. The good thing about it is it's marked off in a grid, so I am not, although I could make simply, if I wanted this as my border, and I'll line this up here, I could use my pencil mark to indicate where that border is. But since I have everything demarcated, this isn't really a necessity if you have a cutting board like this. But let's assume that you had to make that mark, and now we're ready to start the deckling. Now, here's the crazy thing about it, is I'm going to open up my blade, and this, the good thing, as I mentioned about this particular knife, is that it has this burled ring here that I'm going to tighten down. That makes sure that, ensures that the blade does not wobble back and forth, so you always get clean cuts. In this case, we're not making a cut. We're going to instead use the back edge of the blade. That's what makes this different. We're using the back edge of the blade to actually just crush, if you will, the fibers in the paper so that when it tears unevenly and it creates the deckle appearance. So here's what I do. I just come down here with the blade and I make one pass like that, very simply, and then I'll make a second pass. I don't want to cut through it. I'm just doing it that way. Again, I'm going to put my blade away and let's see what happens here. So now I'm going to take the paper and I'm going to first bend it a little bit, all right, along that scored mark, bend it both ways, and then we're going to look real closely here at how this thing tears. Okay, so now, folks, I'm going to begin the separation, and I just create a little bit of a cut here, and then I just simply move down with this, separating it along this crushed line, so to speak. There. And then what I'm going to do is I'll show you what the actual deckling looks like. I'll use this black board to make it easier for you to see. And it's a nice, if you can see that, it's a very nice minimalist deckling that happens with this. Now, you can, by varying how much pressure you put with the back of that blade, it also depends upon how thick your paper is. It will by doing that, you'll vary how the actual deckle looks. In other words, it might be more pronounced, it might be a little less pronounced. Now, if you have a situation where you want to, no? What's the problem? Now, if you'd like, what you can do is you can use those brushes, those wire brushes that we talked about, to further either rough up or even smooth out the edges. So what I do is I get a rigid piece of board. It could be wood, it could be metal, it could be fiber, it could be gator board like I have here, and run it over the edge of the table you're working on. Have the paper about a 32nd of an inch or 1/16 of an inch hanging over that board, and then using your wire brush, you can create more or less of an edge. You can use a narrow brush like this, or if you want to get more done quicker, you can use a wider brush to achieve your aim. And it's kind of a neat way to get the effects that you want with the deckling. And once again, you can see from the finished product that it gives a really nice look, like it's a hand-done print, which of course every print in our shop is. So it just gives a nice artistic look. You might not want to do it with every image, but certainly if you're printing on a heavy paper, a 300 GSM, we find generally 250 is the minimum GSM where deckling really works well. But at any event, a nice matte paper like this, I think you'll find that you really like the results. Okay, folks, here again are the tools that you might need in order to do this. You may not need all of them, but most of them. And I guess that's it for this video. Stay tuned for our next videos, and if you have any questions, make sure to write us below in the YouTube area, right below the description. That's it for now. Until next time, thank you for watching. Les Picker signing off.